Hi folks, we talked about Peter Green and how he played. What we didn't talk about was the guitar. So I thought I'd talk a little bit to you about a Gibson Les Paul and electric guitars generally. This guitar, made by a company called Gibson in America, very famous, making iconic musical instruments. And the Les Paul was designed by Les Paul himself, of Les Paul and Mary Ford fame. The guy was a brilliant inventor. He invented this guitar, solid body guitar, and he invented multi-track recording, which you can hear on the Les Paul and Mary Ford recordings. But we digress. These are the instruments I wanted to talk to you about. Les Paul experimented with lots of different materials. At the time, the problem with hollow body guitars and putting pickups and amplifying them is that because of the air inside the instruments, they fed back. So there was all sorts of unwanted whistles and howling noises produced when you plug the guitar into an amplifier. With a solid body guitar, to some extent, that was solved until the 60s, when people started playing at big Marshall stacks at huge volume and intentionally tried to get a feedback. But that's another story. So let's talk about this instrument. What we've got is a solid wooden construction. So where that stripe is, the binding, is a 1/2 inch maple cap. And the top is solid maple. On the 59 guitars, they've got quite a stripe, we call it a tiger stripe finish in the maple, which is the nature of the wood brought out by the finish. This is a sunburst finish. It's a plain top, and the sunburst refers to the fact it's a lighter colour in the middle going to darker outside. Anyway, the construction of the guitar, you've got a 1/2 inch maple cap, and because maple sustains brilliantly, it's also incredibly heavy. So if the guitar was constructed entirely out of maple, it'd be so heavy, it'd be unplayable. Or at least it'd be hard work to carry around on stage. This is a fairly light guitar, weighs about £8. Some of my other Les Pauls are much heavier, so they are heavy instruments. Here we've got a solid piece of mahogany, so it's like having a small coffee table around your neck. So this is a solid piece of mahogany in the back and a solid mahogany neck as well. And it's a glued in neck joint, which all contributes to the sustain. And on the back here you can see the control plates that cover the electrics, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now there's no electricity running through the guitar. What you've got are 2 pickups here that pick up the signal from the string. Now under these covers are 2 coils side by side. They're called humbucking pickups because they don't buzz as much, they don't pick up interference from the lights and the mains as much as single coil pickups, which are thinner and just have 1 coil in them. These 2 coils are basically a magnet, and there's copper wire wound around the magnet. The makeup of the magnet, the metallurgy and the number of turns and the copper wire used is a source of great debate. These are Gibson pickups, but there's a huge market in replacement pickups that try and recapture the magic tone of the 59. Some of them do it brilliantly, some of them not so well. I think these pickups are good, so I've left them on the guitar. So basically, when you pluck the string vibrates over the coil and produces a tiny electrical current, and the pickup senses the pitch that you're producing, and that's how electric guitar works basically. Now this tiny signal goes to the controls on the instrument. And for each pickup, you've got an independent volume and an independent tone control. Now there's 2 pickups on this guitar, and I've got a pickup selector switch here, which can either pick up the bridge pickup here, that turns that, the neck pickup here, and the middle is both of the pickups together. Now if you pick nearer the bridge, you get a more trebly sound than you pick up when you pick here, which is a bassy sound on any instrument. Works on an acoustic guitar as well. So the bridge pickup is a more trebly sound, whereas the neck pickup is mellower because it's picking up the sound nearer the the neck of the guitar. And in between is two pickups together, which is a slightly different sound. And using these volume controls, you can mix as much of it as each pickup as you want it to the mix. So you've got a whole variety of sounds available there. You've also got tone controls on each pickup, and what these basically do is bleed off the treble in the signal. So if I turn, it becomes more muffled. That's completely off. Turn it back on. So it bleeds the treble out the circuit. Now, the electrical signal coming from the instrument is tiny. So if that goes to an amplifier, and the amplifier consists of a preamp and an amplifier itself, and the preamp boosts that tiny signal up to a level which the amplifier can cope with. But they all contribute to the sound and the tone of the instrument, as does the nature of the wood and the nature of the pickups and everything else. Everything in the signal chain contributes to the sound. Now, as I push the amplifier more, so I've got a tiny signal there, tiny amount of volume, that's fairly undistorted. If I turn the signal full up, I get a distorted sound. And some guitars are more controllable via the controls than others. I used to play live with a single channel amplifier and control it all from the guitar, and this guitar is especially good for that. So that's basically how an electric guitar works. Thought you might find it interesting.